Have you ever seen a triangular concertina sketchbook? Until this weekend, I hadn't, but I was taking part in an art trail with a fellow artist called Mohan, and thank you so much for letting me show your beautiful work. He's an urban sketcher. He had a triangular concertina sketchbook, and I was so inspired. Where did you get it from? I asked. He didn't know. So I decided to come home and try and make one myself. I was so excited to see that triangular sketchbook, triangular concertina sketchbook, because I love a concertina sketchbook. When I go away on holiday in particular, I love the idea of telling the story of a week through a concertina. And I love the flexibility that, look, I can do work across pages, or I can do a single page, or hope this all fits in, I can actually go across 3 pages should I wish. So love a concertina sketchbook, and as you can see, I make my own very regularly. But I love an odd shaped book because it makes me see the world in a different way. So I've made this circular journal, and I love how it makes me just paint or think or look in a slightly different way. And it struck me that a triangular concertina sketchbook might have the best of both worlds. So this is my little prototype that I've produced, and there are a couple of things that maybe I'll do differently, but it has an elastic enclosure to keep it shut. It has a hard cover, and you can open it up, and we have my triangular sketchbook. And it was really easy to make once you got your head round the folding. And the great thing is I can now do diamond shaped drawings should I wish, or I can do triangle shaped drawings and do triangles like this, or I can open it out and do square drawings or rectangular drawings, or indeed absolutely massive ones. So it's really flexible. It's got lots of different shape possibilities, and I just really like it. One thing I haven't really worked out yet is how to put a pocket in it, just to stick tickets and receipts and bits and bobs in, and quite often put one at the back of a normal shaped sketchbook. But that would be very complicated. Let's crack on. So what you need is to decide on the paper you want to put inside. And I have got watercolour paper because I tend to do line and wash work. Do not go too thick. This is £140 or 300 grams per square metre. Any thicker than that and the folding will be really hard because you're going to be folding diagonally and going against the grain, and you'll find the paper sort of cracks. Of course, you need to decide on the size. When I was working out the folding, I just used a bit of paper, and I thought, oh, 20 centimetre would be nice. Though that's not a particularly large dimension that way, by the time you've got your diagonal, it actually makes the book pretty large. So I wouldn't go too big. This is just over 15 centimetres. I think it was 15.2. which in inches is about 6. That made a nice sort of hand size sketchbook. Mine is 15.2 is, well, in fact 15.25 is because my sheet of paper was 61 centimetres, and I just worked out how a quarter of that, so that I wasted as well no paper at all. I have cut 2 strips from a full sheet of watercolour paper. Now, if your paper is shorter, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to join them. We now need to mark squares. So measure the width, which I say mine is 15.25, and I need to measure 15.25 because this is all based on a square. I've got this, which is called a bone folder, and it is used for making books, and I am going to score along that line to make a square. That will just help me fold it better. If you don't have a bone folder, Scoring really helps with the folding. So use a pair of scissors and score with the scissors. You're not aiming to cut, it is a dent. And now I've got that dent in place. Look how easily that folds. And the crispness and the accuracy of the fold will really impact the final result. So just go along your fold with your bone folder, or if you're using scissors, use the handle of the scissors, something that won't mark the paper, and just do it in place. And we need to do that for the whole length of this piece of paper. You may be tempted just to then fold along there. Just use the edge to guide you. But each time it'll be a teeny bit bigger, and by the time we get to the end of the strip, it won't be accurate. And I'm doing that all the way along. And there is that maxim about measuring twice and cutting once, and I would urge you to take that on board. If you're not sure, stop, remeasure it, look at it again, so that you don't end up doing something silly. Sorry about the sunshine streaming across my workspace. I'm not in my studio, I'm on the dining room table because I've just got more space for long bits of paper. And it's so lovely to see the sun, but I'm certainly not shutting it out. Right, so look, we can just, oh, see that wasn't very straight. Can you see how it's zigzagging? So I haven't got that terribly straight. Let's, there you go, there's a case in point. Let's hope I can sort that out and I'll adjust that as I go through. You're going to have a bit left over at the end that's not big enough. Don't cut it off because we will use that as a tab to join our pieces of paper together. Now we need to do the diagonals, and the key thing I'll say to you is the diagonal folds must all join up in a zigzag. Don't do them all in the same direction because when you fold the paper it won't work. So make sure that on one page they're going up, then it joins and goes down, up, down. That is my top tip. To make the diagonal, line this up at the corners. I would not aim for exactly at the corner because that makes the fold a bit funny there. I would come in the teeniest bit this direction and then score. And you will see that you can just fold it really easily. If you just try to fold that corner to that and smooth it down, that will only work if you've got really thin paper. On a watercolour paper like this, I think you'll find it'll start to crack. So we've now got one diagonal which folds there, that will fold back on itself, and the diagonal will come here. Just come inside the vertical line. It just makes these points a little better. When you're scoring, it's a line, it's not a cut. So we come around there and then we can fold like that. And we start to get this sort of samosa shape, and then it would come round here. I hope you can see that it's starting to take shape. So on the next one, we're making sure we join up slightly inside. Nice straight firm line, try not to wobble, and then we can go like this. There, we've got our score. It should just fold over like that, and we have the insides. Now I say in my excitement of showing this, I have not lined it up terribly well. On this tab at the back, we're going to have to mitre it off and just use the back page as a guide. And we are going to cut off that triangle. We only need about 2 centimetres or an inch just to stick down to join bits together. So let's cut that off as well. And that little tab means that we can join things together. Just to prove that I can do it better, this was the first one I did, and that lines up a lot better. But there you go. So you can do as many of these as you like. You could do thousands and have a super thick one. Just be aware that if it explodes out, you'll be grappling with an octopus. I have got 2 because I'm trying to make a book that will last for around about a week while I'm on holiday, I reckon. So this will be my first page, and I haven't cut the tab off this one, but I have folded it. So I am cutting this here. Just there. What we do is get the second piece. We make sure that line is zigzagging up, and we are going to put glue here and overlap it there and stick them together. If I turn it over, you can see why I had to cut that, because when that's folded, if I'd left it square, I'd have got a really thick fold there. And that's why we cut that slight diagonal. Double check, zigzag, zigzag. Yes, perfect. So I just use white school glue. I think you call it Elmer's glue if you're in America. It's white PVA glue. You can get special bookbinding glue. I haven't got it. And an old brush. Makes sense to protect your table with a bit of newspaper, because we don't want to get glue onto our working surface. So apply glue to the tab. Be generous, but you don't want it to squeeze out either. Flip over the page to a clean sheet, and then I am going to line them up. Press it down firmly. You can use your bone folder if you want to, just use your fingers. And then we need to put a weight on top of that and let that dry. While this is drying, of course, we can make our covers. To make your cover, you need a square bit of board that is slightly larger than your triangle. Let's go back to my prototype. So this was 15.25. I need a square of cardboard that is 16 centimetres, so just a little bit wider all the way round. Traditionally, the covers are made out of this stuff called grey board, because it's grey and it's board. You could use the back of an old sketchbook. That's actually really thick, isn't it? So if you want to have a very thick cover, obviously choose a very thick board. I think that's a bit too thick, so I'm going to stick with my grey board. If you haven't got grey board, you haven't got an old sketchbook cover, you could look for a hardback book that you've got that maybe is broken, you don't need anymore, use the cover of that. Or you could just get some household cardboard from a cereal packet, and you might need to stick 2 pieces together to make it thick enough, but you can improvise that way. You've got your square, and now we need to cut it in half, corner to corner. Remember to protect your worktop. And again, the more accurate you are, the better the end result. If you've got one of these break-off knives, it's worth breaking off the end so that you're using a really sharp blade. Cutting paper really blunts your knife so quickly. Don't try to get through it in just one cut. Because you will do it inaccurately, and I have done it badly there. This always happens when I'm filming. When I'm just making it for myself, I'm fine. Right, I've got a bit of a wobble. Is that too bad a wobble? No, it's fine. Now comes the fun part, choosing your cover paper. And I found this scrapper, it's actually scrapbook paper, and I'm wondering whether I might use that. You can buy really pretty decorative papers like this very reasonably from sort of hobby craft type shops, or if you're in the UK, the Works do very reasonably priced ones. You don't want it to be too thick because that can make it really hard to cover in the corners. Equally well, you don't want it too thin because this is going to be a sketchbook that's out and about. Something I sometimes do is just use a bit of old mount board as the covers, and if they're coloured, they don't need covering at all. This is the cover, and I squared it up with the bottom. On this book, I would actually like to have it so that it's squared up like that. That's the front, that's the shape. So in fact, this piece of paper isn't going to be big enough. Let's use this. And this will show up any inaccuracy. So let's be careful. So you need to cut your paper about 2 centimetres bigger than your board. If you're not sure, obviously draw first. Don't cut too close to the corners because we're going to tuck that in so none of this grey board actually shows. You could see that I was mitering in the corners as I went along. If you're not sure, just cut the triangle and afterwards cut off the corners. Not flush with the board, a little further on. Make sure to make a pair, don't do them identically. If your paper has a direction, take that into account. We are going to stick this on here, fold in the edges, and we will need to miter the corners further so that we totally enclose it. Go round with the point of your bone folder or your scissors and just mark, because that will help the folding and it will help you know what on earth you're doing. Here, just cutting off that corner flush is absolutely fine. But down at the point, I need to come a bit closer because I've been quite generous there. You can always cut more off. You can't add it back on. And if I fold this over, it will show you what the issue is. So again, that lovely little crease just helps us fold nice and accurately. If I fold it like this, I've got a spare bit of paper. So I need to miter the corners. Actually, that one's not too bad, so that it can be either inside or at least flush with the edge. So I'm going to cut a teeny bit more off there. And I am definitely going to cut a goodly bit off there. So I end up with that shape. And I hope you can now see that if I fold it in, I haven't got bits sticking out. Let's double check while we haven't got any glue in place. So it's going to cover, but it's not protruding. Good. I need to apply my glue to the paper right to the edge, but again I've got to be super careful not to get glue on the pattern side. I place my card hopefully in the right place, bending that down there, and then here at this, I'm starting with the right angle, I'm using my thumbnail and just nipping it in there and then folding it over, and I get a really nice fully enclosed neat edge. These pointier corners are a bit tricky, so again either use your thumbnail, just nip it in there, or the point of your bone folder. Let's do both. Nip it in, just squish it down, and we might need a teeny bit more glue there, because to fully enclose that I am bending it over. So I've nipped it in bent it over there, and that just encloses that point, and then I can put that over, just make sure that point really goes in there. There, that's better. Did I get it that end? No. So just to do that. And that is my cover. So what we need to do, make sure it's stuck down properly, make sure all those points are in, and then we need to let it dry under a weight, just in case a little bit of glue has squidged out. We don't want it to stick to anything. And this is the best non-stick paper in the world. And what is it, you will ask? It's actually the inside of a cereal packet. So when you've finished your cornflakes, shreddies, muesli, whatever, you've got this bag. Just peel it open. You'll have to clear out. Look, see, I think those are shreddies. Obviously, make sure there's no dust on it, no cereals, but you get this non-stick paper. I can encase that, put that under a weight, just a heavy book. It'll dry flat. If there was any extra glue, it'll just peel off. It won't rip my paper. We'll do exactly the same with this one. There is my cover. While those covers finish off drying, I want to talk to you about enclosures. You don't need to have something to keep the book closed, but look what it's going to do, because it's a bit boingy. You could just use a bulldog clip, and they will be very, very useful anyway while you're out and about sketching on a windy day. So a bulldog clip is perfectly acceptable. You might want something a little bit more sophisticated. If you've got a long elastic band, well, you can't put it that way because it will just slip off. But what you can do, hook it round, come round and hook there, and that is very enclosed. Danger is, of course, that you will lose this elastic band. So you might want to attach one, and that was the solution I went for. Usually I just use a bit of string, something like that on a sketchbook, and you can just twiddle it round the button. Or I am terribly fond of a decorative ribbon that ties your book together. The issue, of course, with a ribbon rather than elastic, it is going to slip off. If you tie a ribbon round like this, it's going to slip off your point. There just isn't a right place to be able to sort of tie a bow and keep it shut. So elastic, I reckon, is the way to go. And the solution I came up with, as I experimented yesterday, was to stick a bit of thin elastic between the final page. Can you see the bumps where it is? The page and the cover. And then it can just loop round like that and keep it closed. Now, I am slightly concerned this elastic may pull out with time, so I did apply a lot of glue. I'm hoping it will stay in place. I guess the alternative with elastic is that you could make a hole in the corner here, put the elastic through, and then loop it round. And that would be absolutely fixed there, but you'd end up with a knot here that might not look that attractive. And if you've used a very thick board, getting a clean hole can always be an issue. Right, shall I see if everything's dry? We've got our strips of paper stuck together, you see there? So that was our little tab. That can all fold up into a pile. If you have got a tab on the last piece, that needs to be removed. So we've got our sort of samosa paper, and that will be our first page, either as a diamond or a square. Well, those are looking nice and neat, aren't they? So those are my covers. If you remember, this one I did when I'd covered it in a map. I've done it so this is the base of it, but I'm going to do this very much as an upright triangle there. So that's going to go there. That's going to go on the back. Yeah, that all works. And my little bit of elastic is going to go between the back cover like this, the back cover and the back page, and we're going to stick it down like that. It will then come round and be my enclosure. Just make sure you haven't got a twist in that elastic, and that's where I'm going to stick it. Now, experience has told me that the elastic is hard to get stuck. So I'm going to put plenty of glue there underneath. I'm going to line it up with those stripes. I'm coming round, making sure it's not twisted, and line up with that stripe. What we need to do is put glue on the back page and then stick it down here. Don't put glue all over this, because remember, this is slightly larger than your paper and you will have all that glue seeping out and it'll stick your whole book together. Put some paper between the back page and the rest of the book, because that means that the glue won't go all over the place. And then we carefully put glue all over the back page. Be really careful when you come here. If you're a bit uncertain, put another piece of paper under there just to protect the rest of your book, because if it all gets glued together, and my prototype slightly did, not enough that I couldn't get it apart, but it's just annoying. Take your little sheets out, then we can, making sure that elastic is in place, line it up, leaving a little edge all the way round. Smooth it down. You could use your bone folder here, or I think fingers are perfectly acceptable, and we're avoiding getting any glue onto this. Then let's get our super non-stick paper, and if we put that there, even if a little more glue does squidge out, it's not going to stick to the rest of the book. Now we have to do exactly the same to the front cover, so I'm just putting that paper in there just to protect things, and in this case I'm going to just pop another bit of paper under there. But it minimises the damage I can do. This is an incredibly springy book, which is why I'm having to keep my finger in the middle, because it's just desperate to bounce out, and that's because we've folded across the grain of the paper. And remove my gluey bits of paper. It should be a little bit easier because we haven't got to worry about the sellotape, not sellotape, what do I mean? Elastic. Getting a nice even border. You can see that the cover, oh look, I've got a bit of glue there, quick wipe that off. Yeah, the cover is just slightly bigger than the paper because it protects the edge of the paper. It's as simple as that. We put that in position. Just open it up and make sure you're happy with that position. If all your folding has totally worked out, the back and the front cover should all line up. I'm getting my protective bit of paper that I'm going to put in there. You can put that round here. I've got this lovely sandwich. Oh, actually, wouldn't that be fun? This does look like a sandwich. Yeah, you could make like a sandwich, a sandwich sketchbook. That would be very funny. You'd have to paint the edges of this red so that it looks like jam in the middle of two bits of bread. Or I tell you, the other thing, thinking about covers, triangles. What about Toblerone chocolate? That's triangular chocolate. You could, isn't there logos sort of gold and red? You could make this into, a bit of triangle chocolate. Or if you're in the UK, you will know the triangle, the green triangles in Quality Street chocolates. If you're elsewhere, you won't know what I'm talking about. You could cover this in gold, greeny gold foil and make it into one of those Quality Street chocolates. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. Back to our tutorial. Now I've got that sandwich, it desperately needs weighting down under a very heavy book or with your press. Let me show you something that I found in a junk shop that is great as a press. Hopefully you can see it. It's a tie press. Now, who wears ties anymore? But in the olden days, when you had your pinstripe suit and your bowler hat and goodness knows what, you needed a nice pressed tie and you would use this. But you can use it as a book press. Put these up into the slots, tighten them, and it holds it all in place till it's dry. It only cost me a few pounds to buy, maybe £5, can't actually remember. And I think the woman in the antique shop was a bit surprised, but you can get them on eBay, and no one wears pressed ties anymore, do they? So they're not expensive. Now is a great opportunity to wash your brushes. Don't want that to dry on there. Actually, I've only left this for about half an hour and I'm excited to look at it. So let's remove it, see what it's like. Ideally, leaving it overnight might be good, but right. Just take those out. Oh, that's looking good, I think. The enclosure closes. Just make sure nothing's stuck together. Ah, something has there. So if, like me, you have managed to stick something together, just use a knife, not a sharp knife, just to ease it apart without ripping the paper to shreds. Luckily it's on the back, so it doesn't matter because this is effectively the front page. I've got a little mark there. We'll have to disguise that. And then these are all looking good. And the back cover is fine. The elastic's in place and works. So apart from that little stick, then I think we are really good to go. So those are my triangular sketchbooks. You can have your cover so it sits flat like that, or triangular upright. I hope that has inspired you and that you might have a go. You've seen that you just don't need any sort of specialist equipment, and by using a different shaped sketchbook, maybe you will see the world in a slightly different way.